shit happens, and you know, it can have almost like a gravitational force. You feel it really pull at you, and if you let it, it'll really pull you down, and it starts to build momentum, and pretty soon one thing can make your whole day or whole week or whole month or whole year feel like everything's falling apart. And you know, lately with kind of like the series of events from going to the doctor and finding out I can't train for, you know, weeks, and it's gonna be this 12-week healing process. So I have to wear this brace on my wrist, not because there's anything wrong with my wrist, but the doctor said it will help me to remember, one, not to grip something. Two, it's got a plate in the palm, which makes it pretty difficult to grip anything. So it's just kind of her way of making me not grab anything with that hand for the next couple weeks. So she said any kind of elbow brace is a waste, because the problem really isn't the elbow, the problem is from gripping. So yeah, I gotta wear this stupid brace. And then people will say, what's wrong with your wrist? Nothing, my elbow. Why don't you wear an elbow brace? That's why. I was told that really can't do anything for the next 2 weeks, so, which is tough, considering that, you know, this is crunch time right before the show. But it's been tough for the past 6 weeks. It's been at least that. Ever since I flew out to LA, I went out there for the LA Fit Expo. And while I was out there, I trained with Steve Cook over at Gold's Gym Venice. The next day I trained with Jay Cutler.
Dr. James Grage over here, because everyone's a doctor in this industry now.
Had all this content planned, and it was just really a big bummer because I couldn't do much. I pretty much had to kind of fake my way through some workouts because I just had this excruciating pain in my elbow, and wasn't sure at the time what it was. All I knew is that my elbow, I just couldn't move it. I couldn't even brush my teeth. Something as simple as holding a cup of coffee was impossible. Shaking someone's hand was murder. I mean, you might as well just smash my elbow with a sledgehammer, shaking hands. It was brutal. And it's been that way for the past month and a half. So I've tried different things. I've tried therapy. I went to a good friend of mine who does acupuncture and acupressure, and he's usually really, really good. Anytime I have a minor injury, he's always been able to help me through it. But after going to him a couple sessions, I just knew that there was something wrong. And a lot of it was the not being able to sleep at night, just feeling this excruciating pain all night long, a throbbing pain, and there was no comfortable position that I could put my arm in. And I felt it not just in my elbow, but in my triceps and in my forearm. And so I didn't want to go to the doctor, not before the show, because you know what a doctor is going to tell you. A doctor is going to tell you, stop training. And that was the last thing that I wanted to hear leading up to competing. But it just got to the point where I was worried that I was doing too much damage. And I was worried that maybe I was on the verge of a tendon tear or something more serious. So I finally sucked it up, and I made the appointment. I went up there, and I'm glad I did, even though I was told exactly what I knew I was going to be told, which is I can't really do anything for the next couple weeks. But it was actually worse than I thought that it was. It wasn't a tendon tear, but still a long recovery process. I was told it's going to be about 12 weeks to heal. The one thing that I thought was interesting, the big takeaway for me, and the thing that I wanted to share with you guys, I used to think that using lifting straps, so if you were doing lat pull downs, if you were doing deadlifts, that straps were just, that was just grab the bar and go. And that was something I was dead wrong about. That's what she was telling me. She said, look, this all stemmed from grip, from grabbing. So I know exactly how it started. It started a little over a month and a half ago, and it was my fault, but I was spotting Kirby on bench press, and that's when I felt it. I was pulling the bar up, and I felt a little twinge, and the reality is probably at that point, I already had bad tendonitis. She said that's how it started. It started with tendonitis, in those muscles, those extensor muscles in the forearm. She said the bigger you are, the more muscle you carry, the less room there is inside for things to move freely. So it's easy to pinch nerves when you've got a little bit more muscle mass. She doesn't want me doing anything. She told me she doesn't even want me opening a bottle of water. She said use your left hand, which is ironic because yesterday was James's birthday party. We had a big obstacle course bounce house, and so he and I were racing in there, and I got my thumb caught in a ladder in there, which at first I thought the pain was just the fact that it pulled my thumbnail back. I came out of there with blood dripping out of my thumb, but it actually sprained my whole thumb, and it's just extremely swollen and sore. I can't do anything with it. So definitely today I'm feeling frustrated. Like I said, I've got about 10 days before I fly out to Columbus, Ohio, and scratching my head trying to figure out how I'm going to work around this. I did order off of Amazon some lifting straps that have the metal hook. That way I can train, because again the problem is gripping, so if I can hook it I can still do a lot of those pulling movements, etc. For the next couple days, because of this issue, I'm trying to figure some sort of workaround. Maybe even if it's I have some straps with Velcro attachments. They're part of my bands, elastic bands that I use to work out when I travel. Maybe I can strap those on my wrists and do something where I don't have to grab it. I don't know. I'll get creative, I always do. I'll find a way, but the problem is that's how you get tendonitis. So tennis players, golfers, everyone thinks that they get tendonitis from the swing. No, they get it from over gripping. This is the challenge, is they're getting hooked up, but come on. I know you want to cooperate. There it is. So that's lesson number one. Go ahead and use wraps. Number two, the nice thing when I'm doing these is I get to really focus on my lats and getting that squeeze, because I'm not using as much bicep. When you're gripping something with your hands and you get a real tight grip, it's easier to focus on using your arms versus thinking about pulling down, focusing on your elbows and getting a squeeze in your lats. So not using your hands really allows you to focus just on your back, bringing those elbows down. So there's a difference between elbows down and squeezing the lats versus hands coming down and really using a lot of biceps. So kind of two little lessons to extract out of this. Hey, wait. Can I ask you for a favor, dude? Do you unbuckle this? At this point, that's all you can do, is not let it drag you down, and just find a workaround. And I guess that's my best advice to you, because there is really no good advice, especially since it's a case-by-case situation, depending on you, depending on your injury. No one can give you good advice, and so that's where I think that you've got to, again, take in all the facts, get all the information from your physician, take their advice seriously, but then maybe, find that balance of your better judgment and maybe even a bit of dogged determination, and find the balance between all of those. And you just find a way to keep going. Don't let it drag you down. It's easy to let it deflate you and feel really frustrated, and that's how I've definitely felt the past month and a half at moments, where I just can't do the things I want to do. I haven't trained biceps literally in a month and a half. Since LA, I haven't done any biceps at all. Fortunately, that's probably one of my stronger body parts, and so that hasn't bothered me as much, but there's definitely some areas that I've been wanting to target, especially with upper back, that have been really difficult for me to do with this pain that I have in my elbow. You just don't let it drag you down. If you get knocked down, you just got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. So that's my best advice. It's not even so much of how to work around it physically, it's how to work around it mentally and emotionally. So don't focus on the things you can't do, focus on the things you can do.